welcome to our next course in our quest to have listing mastery. Today, we're going to be talking about the perfect CMA and really the components that make a complete and very successful CMA. So Anna, before we jump in, can you kind of go over some of the best practices for the class, and then we'll get started?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Anna McKeel, and I am thrilled to be here with you today. So if you need anything, have a question, or you have an aha to share, be sure to pop those comments below, and we'll kind of engage with that as it comes in. And certainly you can also reach out to us at info@brendanbardick.com. So whatever is easiest, but we would love to engage with our community as many ways as possible. So don't hesitate to, like I said, comment or ask any questions. As a reminder, all of our agent webinars and video trainings are available on our official YouTube page. That's Brendan Bardick Real Estate Coaching. You can watch this one and over 75 others on demand, instant replay, and hopefully you can find some value. And if you do, either today or in any of the other videos that you've watched on our YouTube page, be sure to subscribe, like, comment. I know Brendan and I are very passionate about helping as many real estate agents and coaches as we possibly can. So by liking our YouTube page and engaging with that content, you're helping us achieve our mission, and we are very grateful for that. And hopefully, if you don't see something that you need, reach out to us, because we want to put content out that is valuable to you and your business. So I'll pop a link in the chat box. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and let me know if you need anything else. Other than that, Brendan, take it away.
Well, excellent. Well, thank you so much, Anna. And so what I'm going to start with is, first of all, just a quick introduction. So if you don't know who I am Brendan Bardick with Brendan Bardick Real Estate Coaching. Our mission is to basically coach the most elite real estate agents and real estate coaches on earth. And so with that being said, we try to bring a level of content that is not kind of your standard, hey, basic kind of content. This is what I used year after year to sell over 130 homes myself personally, to sell over $1 billion in residential sales, all with no formal education, with, basically, $100 to my name and starting out in this business. And I'm very passionate because I know what a game changer it can cause for everybody's lives. Once you understand the listing process and understand that it doesn't matter your level of experience, you can be doing this day zero, you can be doing this after 20 years. There's always something to get better at, but it is a system. It is a process, and it was designed and structured a very specific way to have a very specific outcome. So please understand that in what we're teaching. You might have learned it a different way. You might, even right now think that you have ideas on how you should structure it. I can only tell you, after refining it for 20 years and having tons of agents that have worked with me on my real estate team, my real estate brokerage, and agents that I've coached across the country, this system works. So take it serious, ask questions. Believe me, if you raise your hand and you ask the question, somebody else has the same question. They just didn't want to hit the unmute button. So make sure that you ask it so you can feel comfortable, so you don't have to, have these issues in the future. All right. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. And as we jump in, the first thing that we're going to go into is let's make sure that everybody has the screen here. There we go. Oops. All right. That what we need to be focused on is we have to be very clear on understanding that what we're looking at as far as pricing is that there's only two factors that ever really matter in pricing, okay? And those are price and time. That's it. Nothing else matters. And I feel bad. Sometimes people are like, oh, Brendan, you busted my bubble. And are you, there's nothing else that matters besides price and time. That's the first thing that you really have to digest and completely feel comfortable with, understanding that a property will sell no matter what property it is at a certain price. And every single property on the planet will sell if you give it enough time. right? If I have a listing right now and it's $100,000 overpriced, and let's say the value of that listing is 500 grand, if I list it at 600,000, if it was on the market for 3 years, it'll sell at 600,000 at some point. It's just going to take time to get there. If I have the ugliest property on earth and it's disgusting and it's completely, people, cats peed in it, dogs, whatever, scratched up all of that, it'll sell at a certain price, no matter what. Period. End of story. So as we start to understand the pricing situation as we go into this part of our course and our quest for listing mastery, once we're going to talk about today is your real role as a professional listing agent is to be able to explain to your client, to the consumer, to your database, your relationships, to expireds for sell by owners in the most educated fashion what the market's willing to pay for their house right now, and then work that conversation to make sure that they stay in the realm of reality so that you can be the hero in the situation and not upset them and be the zero. And what I mean by that is a lot of agents go into these situations thinking that your goal is to do whatever the seller wants and price the property at whatever they ask you to. You're setting yourself up for failure because A, they're going to get frustrated and disappointed with you when the time comes for you having to do a price reduction, or the time comes when the offer comes in and it's super low. So our goal in this is to make sure that every seller has great offers, hopefully multiple offers with great terms. And that all comes from pricing the property accurately, right? We've got to price the property accurately to make sure that that happens. Okay. So when we talk about this, we're going to talk about a CMA, a comparative market analysis, and what a true CMA is and what a true CMA is not. Okay? So a true CMA is not an appraisal. You have to be very crystal clear on that. You're not trying to figure out if a garage is worth $5,000 versus a car garage, if a 2-car garage is worth $7,250. You're not trying to figure out a mathematical equation that spits out a number that the bank is willing to lend on. Your mission is to explain to your client what the buyers are willing to pay for the property in today's market. Your only mission is to explain what a buyer is willing to pay for the property in today's market. And is it an exact science? No. CMAs, there is no black and white. A CMA, and this is really tough for a lot of us high S's and C's, it's really hard for us to think through that because you're going, there's got to be an exact price. I know people that take 3 or 4 days to work on a CMA. Let me be very clear. It should take you no longer than 20 minutes tops to ever complete a CMA, have it printed, highlighted, and ready to go. And I'm going to teach you how to do that today. Okay? I'm going to explain exactly that process. All right? So it's not a to the penny assessment. It's a tool that examines comparable properties in the same area to help determine the current market value. That's what a CMA is used for. All right. And as we talk about a CMA, over doing this year after year after year, what I've discovered, what sellers really want to understand is where do they fit in to the conversation? Where does my home fit in to, and we're going to talk about this here, the entire picture, all right? And when we do that, we start with first, we go with a very big satellite view. So we're going to start out with the nation. So there's going to be 5 key numbers that you're going to need to know ahead of time before you walk into any CMA. Now, 3 of these you will hopefully know very easily. The other 2 you might have to do some research on every time. But imagine you walked into a CMA, and Anna, would you role play with me for a moment?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. So I walk in and I've walked through the home. I've done my other processes, which we teach in our List Like a Boss course. And now I'm sitting down at the table and I'm going to go, Anna, so great. Thank you for showing me your beautiful home. The next thing I'm going to do is take you through the comparative market analysis that I've completed for your home. that's going to explain the highest price possible that a buyer is going to be willing to pay for the home. Now, in order for us to do that, Anna, I'd like to start out, and we're going to go with where we spit into the picture on the entire overall market, and then we're going to get right down into your neighborhood. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Excellent, Anna. So, Anna, just so you know, right now in the United States of America, there's 1.3 million homes actively for sale. Okay. Here in Colorado, use your state. Here in Colorado, there's 32,000 homes that are currently for sale. Now, right here in Denver, we've got about 1,700 that are currently for sale. In your neighborhood of Shenango, we've only got 7 homes for sale. And out of those 7 homes that are for sale, there were 2 homes that have sold in the last 6 months that were very comparable to your property, that sold for the highest price per square foot. And I'm going to go over those with you today because I want to make sure your home is the next one to set that next break or that next record. Does that sound fair, Anna?
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. Thank you.
Excellent. So that technique of what I just did there, you can easily know the national number, the state number, the city number. You might have to look up the neighborhood number. And then obviously you can kind of refine it towards the end there. But what I just did there and why this part is so important and why I really stress it is I made myself the professional. They just go, well, if he knows all that stuff, he probably knows everything else, right? And that's just, I learned 3 facts. You have to know 3 or 4 facts that make you look intelligent, that take it from a satellite view to their home. Okay? So make sure you know those numbers. It sets you up to make the rest of this process very easy for yourself. All right. Now, as we go into the next components, we know that there's 6 powerful components that you have to have in every market analysis. Okay. Number 1, you need to have market stats. All right. So market stats, and I've got our completed market analysis here, and I want to make sure everybody has, a vision of what it should look like. So a great CMA is going to have a front and back cover, right? So a beautiful cover with your logo on it. You can get this at Vistaprint. We offer all of this in our complete listing system, where to order it, how to slap your logo on, super, easy go. You're going to have a back cover on it with your information that looks very professional and it feels very professional. This one's a little beat up because I use it as my sample one all the time, but right. And then when we open it up, the first thing that we're going to have are our market stats. Okay. Now, market stats you can get from a title company. You can pay like we do for a company called Altos Research that provides all of these beautiful market stats for us. But now we're going to, again, we talked about going from satellite to specific home. This is just a tool for me to use. Let me get in here and I'll do something here. This is just a tool for me to use that's going to allow me to be able to have pricing conversations about time. And time is the very, very most important thing that we need to make sure we're focused on. There we go. I just figured out this new thing on Zoom called Spotlight feature, which it makes me big and you have to look at me big. It's pretty fascinating. So if you don't know how to use it, check it out. It's a great thing. All right. So now you can see this in full size, right? So now when we're looking at Spotlight view, I've got a couple of pages here with graphs and charts that are really going to help me understand or explain to the client where we are and where I'm concerned that we might go if we don't act today. Okay. One of the most common objections you're going to receive from a seller, let me be very, very, very clear on this one, is we're not ready. We want to wait. We need to do some things before we put it on the market. That is the killer of all listings, because what a lot of agents will go is, okay, that sounds great. So you want to wait about 3 weeks and, clean up some stuff and do all of this. What happens in 3 weeks is they talk to 2 other agents that'll do it cheaper. Their Uncle Joey, who owns a barbecue restaurant, gets his license. and they end up listing with someone else and call you up and you go, oh, you know what, Beth, thanks for coming over. It was so great that we really appreciate it. This breaks my heart to have to make this call, but we're going to list it with someone else. Because every minute from the second that you meet with that client till the second that that property is active and on the market is what we call danger time. Now, some of you are going, well, I have an agreement. I have a signed listing agreement. So they're locked in or whatever it is. Nothing is locked in until that property is active on the market and you have a buyer for it and you have an offer for it. Nothing is locked in. Okay. So be very clear on that. That's a very big piece of this. And so these market stats help us really establish time and why. And here's the thing. If you look at last year, when we were looking at, obviously before COVID, and you were sitting there on a listing presentation, let's just say mid-March of last year, and they said, you know what, we want to wait a few weeks. And they did. Do you think those people regretted that? Absolutely, they regretted it. Right? Now, I know the market's rebounded back and has gone up and we're in this crazy, whole thing. None of us know what's going to happen in the next 5 to 7 days. None of us know what's going to happen, right? Things could get locked down. We might not be able to show houses in 7 days. That's a true thing. We might not be able to actually go out and show houses in 7 days. So every week we wait is another week that we don't know what's going to happen. Now, if the market's tanking and you're in a tanking market and it's going down, do we know? One thing we don't know, Mr. Seller, is Mr. and Mrs. Seller, how bad is it going to get? And is it going to keep tanking? So we got to do something now. The other thing, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is if the market's going up, we don't know how long it's going to go up. So if we don't do something quick, it could go down. When you become good at understanding your market stats, you can make sure that you can explain to your clients the concern of what you've seen over the last 3 years that could hurt them. And we don't want them to get hurt because none of us know what's going to happen. All right. So get very, very, very comfortable with your market stats. All right. Number 2, you got to have your public record report. Okay. So public records, that seems pretty common sense. If you're new to real estate, that's found in your MLS. You're going to have your public record report. And all we're highlighting on this public record report is a few key components. Name, so we make sure everyone that's there on title can actually sign for it. Square footage, so above ground finished on the square footage. The lot size, okay? We need to know the lot size. And if there's any additional outbuildings. That's what I'm looking for to have highlighted on my public record. Then we need to have a beautiful map page, okay? We want our map page, and this is in every single MLS on earth, right? Every MLS has the same thing. I can get mine here. There we go. So you want to have a beautiful map page so we can show them where the comps are at and what they look like. So we're making sure that we know that. Then we've got the comps, and then we've got the stat page, and then we've got intelligent pricing and timing page. Now, I believe you have this broken out for me, Anna, where I have each page highlighted. Yeah, so this is just the summary. So that's why I'm going to go through this. So map page, comparables, stat page, and intelligent pricing and timing. I'm going to show you each one, right? So we just went through the Altos report, right? And it looks beautiful just like this. Now, what you're looking at are the market stats for a specific area over the last 3 years and then broken into quadrants. Now, if you join us every Thursday for Price Like a Pro at 12:30, and it's completely free to every agent across the country, you join us at 12:30. This week, I'm going to be showing you how to leverage this report and really taking you through the true power of how powerful this is in a listing presentation. Then we talked about the public record report, okay? The map you need to have. So we want to show them the aerial of actives under contracts and closed units, okay? And then when we're selecting our comps, I'm looking for 3 actives, 3 under contracts, and 6 closed sales. Now, you might not always find these. Sometimes you're not going to get those exactly. There could be right now 0 actives because of how strong the market is in your area. There could be 50 actives in your area, depending on how your market is. If there's 50 actives, we're trying to narrow it to the 3 that are the most comparable to the property at the time of you doing this analysis. What we do is we look at a few things. We try to make sure that the square footage is within 500 feet up or down. So if I'm 1,000 square foot house, 500 up, 500 down is what I would want to have in there. This doesn't always work because, again, if you're in the luxury home market and you're comparing homes that are 6,000 square feet to 8,000 square feet, you're going to have to give a bigger margin of difference there to do that. Remember, it's gray, it's not black and white. So if you're in a luxury neighborhood or a farm area, I've sold tons of farms. I go out there and they're like, boy, you don't even own any boots. What are you doing out here? And I go, I sell homes, sir, for the most money possible. I don't need boots to do that, right? And I've said that to people plenty of times. I've sold mountain homes. I've sold crack houses, and I don't do crack, but I can sell a crack house, right? I can sell anything because I have the data. I have the data and I have a specific system that gets homes sold. Okay. So you're trying to find the closest. They need to be sold in the last 6 months. Anna, why the last 6 months?
Because it's relative, right? Like anything past 6 months seems like a lot can happen and it's unreliable data.
Yep, that's exactly what the seller will think, but the actual reason is because of appraisals. An appraiser cannot use a comparable that was older than 6 months. So if the appraiser can't use it, why would I use it? Okay. And you're going to explain how an appraisal works to clients when they're in there to help your pricing conversations go, because they're going to go, well, why can't you use the one that sold 9 months ago? That one sold for, 200 grand higher. Well, I apologize. 9 months ago, the market was very different than it is now. Wouldn't you agree? So I cannot utilize that. We can talk about it, and it does have a bit of weight on our conversation. But 9 months ago and 3 months ago, 4 months ago are very different time frames. And as we've seen this year, that can change a market dramatically. Right here in Denver, if you owned a condo downtown, right, and downtown has been abandoned here in Denver. If you owned a condo in downtown Denver, your price 7 months ago is a very different price than what your condo is worth today, because no one wants to live in a condo in downtown Denver right now. Okay. That's why it's important. All right. Comparable lot size. You want to make sure you're looking at that. Now, if we're talking farms and acreage and outbuildings and all of that, yes, all of those things are a consideration. Okay. But if I have three sold properties, and one is 10,000 square foot lot, and the other two are 25,000 square foot lot, and my subject property is a 10,000 square foot lot, those other two are probably going to pull up the pricing quite a bit because they're much bigger lots than my subject property, and that's going to have an effect on my value. And I'm going to talk to you here in a moment about how to explain that to your clients. Okay. And then similar property type. Here's the question I get all the time, right? If my subject property is a tri-level, and I really want to spend some time on this because this is where I watch agents just get screwed up all the time. If my property is a tri-level, my subject property, is that worth less or more than a ranch property? Everybody's like, maybe, I don't know. That's a good question, Brendan. I'm not sure.
I think it's worth less.
Less.
It depends.
Okay. They're saying, who said it depends? Yeah.
I did.
There we go. The true answer in all CMA conversations is it depends. It depends. Okay. Right. Now, traditionally, if you were in a neighborhood that was all ranches and you had an oddball tri-level and the average age for that neighborhood was older, then maybe that tri-level would sell for less because people don't want to deal with all the stairs. Right. So it depends. Now, I hear people go all the time, tri-levels sell for less because everybody hates them and nobody likes them. I've been in some sweet tri-levels that are really nice, and I've been in some gross ranches. So it depends. Okay. Now, bi-level versus ranch, does that matter? Yes. You want to try to find comparable properties that fit. Right? So if I was doing a market analysis and I had 3 active comps and my subject property was a tri-level and I had 3 tri-levels to use as subject properties, I would use those. That would be a lot easier to do my market analysis, even if there was a lot of other ranches available. Now, I would still have in a separate folder the ranches that are available so the seller doesn't think I missed anything. If there's a ranch that's active for sale 3 doors down from them and I don't bring it with me that day, they're going to look at me and go, did you not know that Susie and Johnny are listed for sale, you jerk off? You didn't even put it in your market analysis. I did, but what I wanted to look at was tri-levels because your home is a tri-level. And yes, that ranch is beautiful. And I know that it's listed for $40,000 more than the rest of these here, but it's because it's a walkout ranch and it's not a tri-level. Would you agree that tri-levels should be based upon tri-levels? And they'll nod and say yes. Okay. All right. So don't shoot yourself and go, Brendan told me to only bring tri-level comps. Don't do that. It depends on the conversation. It just depends on the conversation. Okay. But when you can, try to use comparable similar properties. All right. Now the stat page, the single most important page that you have in your entire market analysis. Okay. Now you're going to have your comparables as we look through here, right? And when we're looking at comparables, all I do for every comparable is the broker showing page. And if you have different MLS, you should have a broker showing page. I don't use the client one, I use the broker one. Any ideas on why I would use that versus the client report, meaning what the client sees? Good. Well, that's why I'm here today to help you, right? So what I found from doing this market analysis at a high level a lot of the times is I always wanted to make sure I had what the commission was that was being offered for the buyer agent and what brokerage sold it. Because a lot of times I'll highlight in my market analysis if my company had sold that home, even though it could have been a different branch of my company, a different franchise. Because when I go through that comp and I'll be like, oh, and here's another one that we sold. Think how powerful that is. And then when I go to the next one and it's XYZ company and it's not my company, I do not mention that company. Unless the photo's terrible, and then I go, look at how terrible this marketing is from this XYZ company. Subtly, everything is subtle as I go through these things. All right. So that's the reason for the broker report and not client report. Then behind that, you just want to have your photo report. So one page, you don't need all 900 photos. You just want the one page photo report. Okay. And that's so I can make sure that we're talking apples to apples. And when they go, well, my house is way nicer. Is it? Let's take a look. Right. And then I go and you go, well, this one had wood floors too. This one had a view of the mountains. This one also had XYZ, but I don't need 4 pages of it. A, because I don't want to pay for the 25 cents per page that my office is juicing me for copies. Okay. So I just need 1 page photo report. And plus I don't want my CMA to be a journal or a novel, not a journal, a novel. Okay. All right. So you've got the comps. Then when we get to the stat page, all right, the single line stat page report, the reason that this page is so powerful is now we get to black and white and numbers and not emotion. And this house is uglier than this house. Mine's prettier. This is this. Here's what the homes look like on average when we start talking about it. So when I get to this page, I go, great. So here's the 3 actives. Here's the 3 under contracts. And here's the 6 solds. Here's what the average price per square foot was above ground. Here's what the average price per square foot was finished. And how interesting is it that we've got the actives are generally always higher than the pendings, and the pendings are higher than the solds? Isn't that fascinating? Okay. So, and when I look at that, at the very bottom of my stat page, it's got a really interesting line on there that said original list price versus final sales price. And it's usually 98%, 99%. And I can show them the properties that were priced very accurately versus the ones that weren't, and how they got full price where others had to do a price adjustment or price reduction. Okay. Now, here's the secret to your entire CMA. Here's the pro tip, the one thing. Here's the easiest way, and this changed my entire life, because I used to go in and I would tell people, so based on all that, you should list at this. And boy, I still took a lot of listings because I was very confident in how I delivered it, but I lost a lot because what the real question you want to say is after delivering all this information, so great. So Chad, based upon reviewing all of this information and looking at everything here, what price would you like to list the home at so it sells in the next 30 days?
Double what you presented.
Double. Excellent. That's great. I love double. You know what? And Chad, so taking a look at double, if we were to do that, let me just do some quick calculations here. I grab my calculator, right? And again, you should have a calculator, not a cell phone because of your rainbow bright, screen covers or whatever you've got. And I would show them my calculator and I would say, so at double, that means that again, right now, that would say, let's just say it's $1 million. I would type in $1 million, divide $1 million by their square footage, and that would give me a price per square foot. And I would say, so as you can see here, the average finished price per square foot was $320 a square foot. With that number, you're wanting to be at 600 and X amount of dollars a square foot. I want to get you that number. Can you tell me how I'm going to explain to all the buyers on how we're going to bridge that gap and why yours is twice as much a square foot as every other home in the neighborhood?
Because my house is better than everybody else's.
Because your house is better than everybody else's. And I also believe that to be true. But my concern is just like as you would right now, if you went out and bought any new house, if we went and looked at the 3 available actives and there was all 3 were similar in size, status, and one was, let's just hypothetically say a little bit nicer, based upon the averages, would you agree that each one of those properties has some features and benefits, some pluses and minuses that would be interesting to a buyer? Yes, of course.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, of course. And so when we look at that, if you're twice as much or 20 grand higher or 100 grand higher, whatever they say, then the problem is they're going to move forward with one of those other homes the same way you would when we go to find your perfect home, replacement home. Okay. So what we're looking at here, Chad, is we've got to make sure that we're basing this price on market value, what a buyer is willing to pay for the home, right? Because me and you, we don't set the actual price, the buyers do. Now we go to our next very important pages in that conversation, our intelligent pricing and timing page, okay? So Chad, my concern is right now, if we know market value is $320 a square foot, the higher we go above that number, the less amount of buyers that are going to be interested in your home. Now, if we go below market value, the more buyers that are going to be interested in your home. We want to be right here in the middle. We want to get as many buyers interested in your home so we can get you the highest price offer, which is what you want, of course, right, Chad?
Absolutely.
Of course you do, Chad. Now, Chad, you also said earlier that what you'd like to do is try to go a little bit higher and come down later, right? Can't we just start out high? And Chad, people ask me that all the time. My concern with that is when we look at that on my next page here, we know that the most activity you're going to have on your home is going to be in the first 3 weeks. After that, we go down and down and down, and you become what I call stale potatoes. Have you ever ate a stale potato, Chad?
It's not fun.
It doesn't taste good. You'd spit it out. You don't like it. Well, that's the same way people feel about listings that have been sitting on the market for an extended period of time. So what we want to do here is in that first 3 weeks, we want to be priced accurately. So we grab that wave of all the excitement and get you multiple offers and the highest prices with the best terms. Because that's what you want, right, Chad?
I agree.
Yeah. So based on all of that information that we just went over, what would you like to price the property at for it to sell in the next 30 days? Okay. And so that's how that conversation works in a very, the customer's always right. Every time they go, I want 100 grand more, 50 grand more, whatever the number is, help me help you get there. Because unfortunately, based upon the comparables, it's just not showing up here. And let me tell you what my concern is. You're always concerned. Now, I'll warn you, never get into a conversation with the seller where their price is wrong and your price is right. It's always the price is right, right? Their price is right. You're just concerned because all you're doing as a professional listing agent is positioning yourself, depending upon your business decision, is to take this listing at a number that you both agree to with you and the seller. And then, but they know very clearly that your price is here based upon the facts, not that you said it out loud. Don't ever try to say a price out loud. Now, if you go, what do you want to list at? And they go, well, you dummy, that's what I brought you here. What's the price? Tell me the price. I met with one guy. I walked in the door. He's like, so what's the price? I'm like, I haven't even taken my shoes off yet and seen the house. He's like, yeah, but you did your research. I don't have a lot of time. I'm a very busy man. What's the price? Well, I haven't seen the home, but even if I was just talking to him regardless, I go, let's take a look at the property. And again, it's not what I think, John, Jad, Susie, it's what the market's willing to bear for the home. And that's based upon the data that we have, based upon what's happened in the recent market. And I'd like to go over all that data with us or with you so we can make an educated pricing strategy. Okay. Now, pricing strategy is the word that you always want to use, right? So I want to come together and make a pricing strategy that maximizes your net return. You guys, you just looked at me like I look smarter just by saying that, right? And I'm not a smart looking person, right? But pricing strategy sounds smart that nets you the most money possible. So our vocabulary has to be built around these trigger words that make me feel safe and that you're a professional. If you're sitting there and they go, so what do you think? And here's what agents do all the time. Yeah, you could probably get 480 to maybe 520. I'm sorry, what? You just gave me a $40,000 swing in my price, 480 to 520, right? This is it. Come on. And that's why I don't use a cloud CMA or these other CMA services, because they live in the world of ranges. A range is not a strategy. Okay? Go into this knowing what your price is, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. All right, so single line stat page, become the master of this. We'll be practicing this on every Thursday to get this right on Price Like a Pro. All right. Oh, shameless plug. Anna, what is this that you put into our presentation?
So I just wanted to let you guys know that we have a holiday winter sale going on that I wanted to extend to you guys. So if you like what you hear today and really want to dive into making your listing process and your entire listing system one of the best in the business, we have a resource for you. It's Brendan's complete listing system that he has used for over 20 years. We are offering it 50% off, and I am going to drop a link in the chat box so that you can access it. Use the code WINTER50 and you get that system 50% off. Obviously, I'm here if you have any questions, but go ahead and check it out. It's a really amazing resource, and it really ties into everything that we're talking about today.
There you go. And it has a money back guarantee, because that's what I live in the world of, and that's how we actually use to do on listings. So it's the same thing there. So check it out. Hopefully it helps you. Now, moving into our pricing and strategy page. So these were the two pages we were talking about. They just look cooler on this level instead of me trying to show you through my Zoom window. So again, all you need to understand on this page is asking price and percentage of buyers. If market value, well, let me go back a step here. So is market value always determined by price per square foot? No, it's absolutely not. Right. Yeah. I want to make sure you're very clear here. If you go, well, Brendan told me to price. Here's what I'll do. If even on my team, I'll be like, all right, guys, we're going to do a pricing simulation and thing. So I'll send out a house and I'll say, everybody on Wednesday, bring me your CMA with your suggested price, and we'll review it. And when I do that, there'll be at least two of my agents that'll just take the square footage of the house and multiply it times the price per square foot, the average price per square foot. And they'll go, there you go, that's the price. And I'll go, so how'd you come up with their price? Be like, I took the price per square foot, multiplied it times the above ground square footage, and it spat out this number. That cannot work, because what price per square foot cannot gauge for is lot size. What price per square foot cannot gauge in is view. Okay. Will someone pay $150,000 more for a comparable house that has one that has a view of the back of a house? Absolutely, they will. Absolutely. I would pay 150 grand so I don't have to look at my neighbor's underwear. You know what I mean? Yes, of course I would. In fact, I do. I don't want to have that experience, so I will pay more. But if I'm looking at the CMA and both the houses are in my CMA, that could cause me some challenges. Okay. So we don't price off of price per square foot. We use price per square foot to help us understand what the average is of all the homes in the area. Now, if you're just doing a high-rise building and they're all condos and they're all on the same floor and everything's identical, then you can probably be pretty sure that price per square foot number is going to be pretty locked in because everything comparable is similar. All right.
So, Brendan, you're talking about views. So how much do you know to adjust for a view or a lot size or something? Is there some type of equation that you use? Can you explain that?
I love it. Yeah. So everyone, what's the answer? It depends. That's the only thing we can ever tie. It depends. Yeah. But it's a great question and I laugh about it, but because there is no black or white answer, what we're looking at is let's just say I'm doing a golf course community and the lots that are premium that are on the golf course and on the lake are selling for a higher rate. I'll take those. And even if I do have to go a little bit further back, I'll take all of those comparables and then just that we're on the golf course and establish their price per square foot. Then I'll go back, even if I have to go back a year or 2 years. Now, remember, you're going, but Brendan, you told me I can only go 6 months back. I'm doing this to determine the difference in price per square foot of homes that were on the golf course versus homes that were interior. So I can go all the way back because that's not going to change because of time. Does that make sense? So I would take all the homes that were on the golf course. Let's say there was 10 that sold in the last 2 years. And I would say, look, Mr. Seller, and again, I'm just proving my case to the seller. Now I get it. Your home doesn't back to the golf course, but on average, the 10 that sold in the neighborhood over the last 2 years, they sold at 400 a square foot. All of the interior ones that were not on the golf course sold at an average of 360 a square foot. So there's a $40 a square foot differential between golf course views versus non-golf course views. Does that make sense? Okay. So now I just took it off of what my opinion is and I made it logic. Now I get this a lot, and here's where I want to give you a very big pro tip. If they're on a busy road, I get the question all the time, well, Brendan, how do you account for the fact that they're on a busy road? Colorado Boulevard in our area or Colfax or whatever it is or whatever. I do the same thing. I go back and I try to find a collective group of homes that were on a busy street versus homes that were interior, take the average over a 24-month period and show the seller that difference in price per square foot on average. And there's always a difference. And usually it's substantial. Okay? All you're doing is taking these things and just going, it's not my opinion. So Brendan, what do you think? It's not what I think, Susie. It's what the market's telling us and what the data's told us based upon all the information I have here. How do we do an outbuilding? Is that the question, Anna?
Yeah, outbuilding garage, especially one that has additional parking, maybe some bells and whistles, really kind of upgraded.
Absolutely. So as we move into the $1 million properties or even a lot of rural properties, right? When I get into my rural properties, you've got the one guy that literally has this huge RV outbuilding and it's his man cave and he's got a pool table in it. The same house next door has a 2-car garage. How do I make the difference of the two? All right. And this is where I again say it depends on what we're looking at. First, I would go back and try to see any history of buildings that had sold without buildings that were big, that were comparable, and see what the difference was. Number 2 is here's the way to explain to a seller, right? So, Mr. Seller, I can appreciate that you have this amazing outbuilding that you can fit 2 giant RVs in. And again, how much did that building cost to be built? It was $100,000. Okay, so it cost you $100,000. All right. Now, we know that the rest of the comparables in the neighborhood do not have this additional feature. And again, I just want to make sure we're clear on what we're going to call this here. So this additional feature. Now, Mr. Seller, when you bought this home, you added that structure for yourself, correct? Well, yeah, of course you did. So not necessarily for resale, you added it because you had an RV. Is that accurate? Well, yeah. Okay. And you would imagine it's the same way, Mr. Seller, when let's say I bought a fancy car and I wanted to put gold rims on it, put a stereo system in it with subwoofers that annoys all my neighbors. And I wanted to have pink interior because screw it, I'm this gaudy anyway. I might as well go full out with pink interior. And I did those things because it was for me, but it wasn't necessarily going to resound with the buyers for resale because not every buyer is going to want gold rims, okay, or a sound system of all of that. So what we've now done is, because your property has this additional feature, we need to find a buyer that either specifically needs this feature, that wants to have this property. And yes, there is value in it because we've added to it, but it's not to say that all the other buyers out there might not want the house with this additional huge building because they don't need it, want it, or even think it looks good on their property. Okay? So you have to get back to logic of averages of properties. That's why we go off of average price per square foot. So this other property had this or that, this other property, but we're not appraisers. I'm not going to give a $10,000 credit for an outbuilding, a $40,000 credit for this. All we're trying to do is explain to the seller that based on market value, the further we go above all of the averages, the less likely we're going to get a buyer. And the further we go below the averages, the more buyers that'll be interested in your home. What would you like to do? Then they always say higher, and you go, great. Now I'm gonna give you my other real pro tip here, is then we're gonna talk about your internet pricing strategy, okay? So now as we get into internet pricing strategy, well, let me go make sure I don't miss anything here. So timing we talked about. Net sheets, we're going to come back to this in just a second because I really want to dial in this conversation that we're on right now. So net sheets we're going to come back to, and I know we have a few minutes. So let's go to internet pricing. All right. So internet pricing strategy. So Anna, will you role play with me again?
Yep, you
know
go.
I love picking on you. All right. So if you look at this screen here, you can see how people search for properties on the internet. This is my personal website, and almost every website is broken into $50,000 increments. And then as you get into the million range, they're usually by 100,000 until you get over like 2.5. And then they sometimes go up 500,000 and so on. Okay. You need to know this because as a real estate professional, you're going to explain this strategy to your client. So great. So Anna, again, you're telling me that you'd like to list the home for $515,000. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, excellent. And looking at the market value, again, the average price per square foot of all of the homes, that's going to put us about $20 a square foot over all the properties there. So just so you're aware that that is a concern. And then here's the other thing, Anna, that I want you to be very cognizant of is our internet pricing strategy. So Anna, if we were to list the property at $515,000, we're going to lose everybody that's searching on the internet that's searching 450 to 500 and 500 to 550. Because Anna, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but everyone searches in $50,000 increments on the internet. So if we're listed at 515, we're going to lose a whole segment of buyers that are looking from 450 to 500, which happens to be here in XYZ neighborhood, one of the most searched price points in the entire area. What I'd like to do, and what makes sense as far as what the market to get you as many buyers as possible, is list the home exactly at 500,000. So we capture both of those markets, the 450 to 5 and the 500 to 550. That way you'll get great offers, multiple offers, and more than likely, possibly, it could get bid up even higher than 515. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So your internet pricing strategy is another secondary tool that you can utilize to help position it. Now, if I get this question all the time, well, Brendan, what if they want to list at 495? Do you push it to 500? No, never go up. You will never, ever, ever, ever go up in your pricing strategy ever in the history of the earth. Okay? Ever. So it doesn't work. If they want to list at 495 and you're at 500, don't bring up that strategy, because we know that the lower their price, no matter what, is going to help their home sell faster. No matter what. And people go, well, Brennan, but that sounds like I'm not being ethical for my client. You are being ethical for your client. Remember, the buyers set the price for the home, not me or you. We're just putting a hypothetical start price on it to hopefully position ourselves in the market. But the buyers, right now, we're seeing this all the time. I know agents that are getting beat by 150 grand on offers because they listed it at $1 million and people are coming $1,150,000 over the offer cash, removing appraisal and contingencies, closing in 14 days. If you would have listed it at $1.2 million, do you think that would have happened? You probably would have had less offers with less terms, and you probably would have started out at $1.2 million and ended up settling for an offer at $1.1 million because there wasn't a frenzy on it. Okay. All right. So make sure you're clear on that.
So Brendan, we've got a question here. So let's say our dear friend Chad here is just kind of one of those unreasonable sellers, right? And they're adamant. They're not going to budge. So walk me through your process. Do you walk away from that seller, or do you commit knowing that even if it's $50,000 over what the market is telling us to list at, and you just put in some type of contingency of saying, I didn't say this, you said it, so let's see how it goes?
Yeah, it's the question I get all the time. And this is where I tell every agent, it depends, right? It depends. So no, but to be serious, it's a business decision. Okay. And here's how you make that business decision. As a business person, I'm going to invest X amount in this project, in this investment. And this listing is an investment that I'm making. I'm going to invest X amount to get this property sold. If they want to list at a much higher number, and I'm concerned that it's way out of the realm of reality, then I know I have a ticking clock. Again, time versus price, right? I have a ticking clock that says I've got 30, 60, 90, a 6-month contract or whatever it is to get them to reality over time. And if I do, they will sell and I will be able to do this. So when I answer that question, you have to be very good at two things: price adjustments, right? And again, I teach a class on price adjustments that will that'll make this process easy to be, or very easy to accomplish. But you have to be very good at that, because what I talked about earlier is how frustrating will your clients be if you list them 100 grand over what market value is, they sit there, they don't sell, then you have to come to them and ask them to do a price. And again, this wording is very important, adjustment. So for everyone on this, you never in the history of your life from this class moving forward use the word price reduction. Okay. You never are reducing anything. When I reduce something, you're taking away. I'm adjusting the price to get more buyers interested in the property. Okay. Never use the word price reduction. It's always an adjustment. All right. But so to answer the question, it's a business decision on me thinking about, can I take this on and will they get to where they need to go? I just met with a client, this is probably years ago now, and I sold their property for $2 million. Come back and meet with them. The luxury market in that area hadn't really increased. They wanted to list for 2.895. And market value was probably 2.3. And again, I say probably because it depends, right? But there was nothing in the stratosphere that got it anywhere near this 2.8. Now, luxury home, huge risk for me, tons of expenses. It was agent accompanied showings. I had to be there to show it, and it was all this nightmare, right? My thought process, and there's strategies that you can do this where you can say, well, I'm going to work in a price adjustment every 30 days. And in a perfect world, so imagine this, you're at a listing appointment, you go, great, I get it that you want to list at 2.8. We think that it's 2.3. Every 30 days, we're going to do a price reduction of 100 grand. Does that sound fair? Think about if you're the seller. Are you going to do that? That basically means you have no confidence in selling my house at 2.8 million. So why would I do that with you? And sellers are like, people are like, well, yeah, it makes sense to do that. That's the craziest thing that I've ever heard. All you should be doing is trying to educate that client to the best of your abilities, is to keep them in the realm. And then you're making a business decision to go, this is a $500,000 gap based upon my agreement, the situation, our conversation. Is it worth the risk for me to take it at this number? Now, there's also other things that happen when you take a listing, correct? Yes, you get buyers from listings. You get marketing from listings. So let me explain this. And God, this is the thing that no one wants to tell you. And I'm going to tell you this. And if you tell anybody else outside of this class, I'll deny it. Right? When I first started taking listings, I was new. I had hair. It looked like Keanu Reeves. It was very beautiful. And I would go on appointments all the time and take it overpriced as all get out, because I didn't care, because I was like, I'm just going to list everything. And then I was hedging the fact of going, if I take a bunch of these overpriced, yes, sometimes I'm going to lose, but I'm going to get so good at working my price adjustments that I'm going to buy what we call buy the listing. I'm going to buy these listings and just see what happens. Now, that worked for a very short period of time, because what happened is, even though I got a lot of these sold, my clients hated me, because I had to keep going to them all the time and price adjusting. And I didn't even know that word. I was like, look, we got to reduce this thing. You guys are crazy. I can't believe you even listed at that number with me when we first started this, right? Like, that got terrible. So even though I would get them to the finish line, I was ruining my repeat and referral business because they had no faith in me. Does that make sense? So that's why pricing is also stronger, where you want to be the hero, have multiple offers, have it sell. And again, all of us right now are in this remarkable market called fantasy land, where every house sells basically in 2 minutes. I can promise you it won't be that way forever. And already it's not that way if you own a condo in a downtown area, for the most part. If you own a condo in 80202 or downtown Detroit or wherever it might be that you're downtown, I guarantee you that condo market's taken a hit. Manhattan's dropped 32% in the last 9 months. Let me say that again. 32% in the last 9 months in Manhattan. You imagine that, and we're talking how much money is in that swing. Okay. So it can happen at any time, these conversations. So I'm not telling you to go take these properties. I'm telling you what I did and I learned from it. Can you take properties overpriced? Yes. Is there a penalty and a consequence for it? Yes. It's great. Okay. Cool. All right. Everybody's like, thanks, Brendan, for raining on our parade. That's super. Okay. Let's close this out with some. So hopefully everybody understands internet pricing strategy. I should have gotten 2 or 3 more questions about that, because there's some questions in there that you should be asking. I'm going to go over those here in a second, but we're going to make sure we get you all this stuff. All right. Pricing objections. Ooh, the stuff that everybody comes for, right? If why you were here is, Brendan, what do I say? What's the magic words to get past a lot of these things? Okay. And I'm going to give you just a few of my favorites today. They're in our script book, which Anna will put a link to, where you can go and download our whole entire script book and the 50 most common objection handlers if you don't have it already. But I don't usually get a lot of pricing objections. I get pricing questions. And I want to make sure that you can field those questions appropriately. Okay. So, all right. So when I look at those, one of those questions I get is, we already talked about that. Can I list high and come down later? We already talked about that. My concern is, if we do that, you use your pricing and timing sheet, you go through that. If we go 10% higher in market value, we're going to lose 30% of the interested buyers. That's a concern. You do want to net the most money. Can we wait and come down later? My concern is our most market activity is going to be on this. Now, here's some other ones that you're going to get as far as the pricing goes. Well, Brendan, if I come down to that number, we don't have enough to get to Arizona, right? Or we don't have enough to buy our next house, or we don't have enough. So all you have to say to them is, I completely understand and I appreciate that your goal is to net the most money possible. But unfortunately, Susie, I don't set the market value for your home. The buyers do. My role in this is to make sure that you price the property so you can actually receive offers, instead of overpricing the property and not receiving any offers at all. Now, you want to move to Arizona, correct? Well, yeah. And you want to get the most money possible, correct? Well, yeah. Then let's price it at the market value to get that number. All right. That's all we're talking about. Then the other objections that are handled in this are square footage questions, right? So Brendan, I want to list at this number. All you have to do is, you have 2 pivot points. If they say, I want to list at this certain number, take that number and divide it by the above ground or finished price per square foot, and see if it helps your case in telling them that they're crazy. And then number 2, you have comps, go back to your comparables, and they go, you know what? We want to list at this. All right, well, let me go back to that comparable that we had over on, 4053, Elm Street. And my concern is that their home was bigger. Their home is a bigger lot. It also is updated because we looked at the photographs and it's also updated. And they just sold at 600,000. So help me understand where we're getting the extra 50,000 for us to list at 650. That verbiage is very important. Help me understand. Susie, I want to get you 650. I'm just not quite sure how to get there. Can you help me understand how to do it? Because the data, the information isn't supporting it. Okay? All right, so you've got to practice these scenarios. Now, here's some other pro tips for a CMA. You have to learn to read upside down. I'm not kidding. If there's one skill you can practice that will get you more listings on this planet than anything else, it's being able to have a presentation, you have your highlights, and you can read the information almost reverse. And it's very easy after you start doing it. I can read better upside down than I can right side up, because they'll be so impressed. Instead of you going, all right, so yeah, I guess it's about 2,124 square feet. Yeah. They don't want to be next to you. They don't want you not to know the information. I don't know anything. I was doing 5 to 7 listing appointments a day, going on these time and time again. I don't do my own CMAs. All of my assistants prepare my own CMAs for me. I pick up a package. I go into a appointment and I read upside down. And I don't even review the CMA. And I just hope and pray that my assistant didn't screw me. Okay, that's the confidence level that you have to have in understanding that this comes down to logic of pricing, not truly research, because comps are comps. Comps are comps. Okay, that's the big piece here. So think about those things. I hope that helped. We're going to touch on just 1 second in looking at net sheets. So net sheets is another place where you'll lose the seller immediately. And I know we're a little bit over time, but whatever. So when we look at net sheets, these are our estimated net sheets. They're designed and they're cute and they're sexy and they're fun for a reason, because they don't scare people. Okay. Now, some of you are probably immediately looking at, well, why is there 2.8 and 1.7 and 2.8 and 3.2%? This is our multiple scale commission structure. So in our team, we do 4.5, 5, and 6. 4.5 if our organization sells the property in-house, 5% if you buy the next house with us, and 6% if neither of those two things happen. You move to Alaska outside of our service area, and for some random reason, some other agent brings the buyer to your house instead of us. You could do 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 8, 8, 9, 10. The variable commission scale is based upon the understanding that people love options. When you go to Starbucks, there isn't just venti. Okay? It's designed that way for a reason. Everything is designed for a reason. Okay? You might also notice on these net sheets, does it say how much my commission is? Meaning the dollar amount. Aha! No, it does not. Right? For a reason. Does any seller want to see that they're paying me $60,000 in commission? No. Am I still being very honest and showing them what I charge? Yes. This is all a visual. Okay? All they care about, and the reason, notice how your eyes are drawn to the big red box? That's designed for a reason, because they care about their net proceeds. That's all they should care about. If my commission's 25%, but they get the net proceeds that they're happy with, do they care that my commission's 25%? Possibly. It depends. Right? It depends. All right. Now, I teach an entire class on how to present these as well, because again, I'm not downplaying the fact that net sheets are very important and that they're a very sensitive subject. We're not trying to do anything here. I always send my sellers a to the penny net sheet from the title company after the appointment. All I explain to them is that this is just a worksheet so they understand what they're going to be walking away with after it's all said and done. Think of the power for that. See, it says on the side there, worksheet. This is just a worksheet for estimated net costs, so we can estimate exactly what so we can estimate what you'd be walking away with after it's all said and done. Okay. Remember, this is a presentation. All right. So Anna already told you, help us get our to 1,000 subscribers. We love helping agents. Hit the subscribe button, please. I know it would make my little heart flutter if you wanted to give me one Christmas present. Subscribe to me on YouTube. I'll probably cry if you do. I'd really appreciate it. If you don't have your breakthrough business plan set for 2021, join us this Thursday. So this Thursday, Anna, the time is
9 a.m. to 11.
9 a.m. to 11. I'm going to break down exactly what you need to do to have a massive 2021. In addition, that class is $25, but it's $25 raffle at the end of the class. For your $25, we're going to pick whoever attended the class, and we'll donate all the money from the class to the charity of your choice for the holiday. All right. So yes, it's a great thing. Hopefully your charity wins, and we'll give all the money to them. So join us for this Thursday. Coming up on the calendar, we've got Tuesday, December 29th, which is going to be Expired Hero. If you've ever wondered about, hey, how do I get into this expired game? Should I get into it? Is it this crazy? I'm going to explain to you how to easily list at least one expired every single month in that class. Then Tuesday, January 5th, Sell the Listing in 6 Easy Steps. So continuing on with our listing mastery program. Now that you know how to price them, how do you sell them? And not only sell them, but sell them and make the client extremely happy. And you also receive some marketing, some buyers, some search engine optimization, all the good, great things that come along with selling the listing. I'm going to tell you all of those pro tips and secrets. So hopefully that was very helpful. I'll stick on for a few more minutes to answer any other questions. If I don't see you guys by the end of the year, I hope that I do. Please go to our YouTube channel and give me that subscription so I can cry. And as always, I wish you great success.